Welcome to the deep dive. You send us your sources, we dive in and pull out the key insights for you. It's your shortcut to getting informed, tailored just for you.
Exactly. And today, you've given us something really intriguing.
Yeah, it looks like a dedication and some excerpts from, is it a paranormal romance or fantasy novel?
That's right. Now, obviously, it's fiction, but for our purposes today, we're treating the story, the events, as kind of a case study. We're using it as a lens to look at these big themes, inheritance, family secrets, conflict.
Got it. So our deep dive today focuses on Isabel Moreau and this totally unexpected inheritance she receives. Our mission basically is to unpack how it all goes down, the crazy circumstances, the family she suddenly has, and these little hints of danger that pop up right away.
Yeah, it's got all the elements, doesn't it? Big family drama, maybe some political stuff simmering underneath, and that paranormal hint you mentioned.
Okay, let's jump into this unexpected legacy. So the scene opens, Isabel's in her godfather Jean-Luc Moreau's study. She's holding his will and the number. It's staggering, right? A multi-billion-dollar empire.
It really is. And you have to picture Isabel. She's built this quiet life, deliberately staying out of the limelight. And she has these psychic abilities she keeps very, very hidden.
Right, so this inheritance just throws a massive wrench into all of that. It shatters that peace she's cultivating.
Completely. It's that classic trope, isn't it? The reluctant inheritor. Power she absolutely never asked for lands right in her lap.
And we're not just talking about a pile of cash. It's what, tech firms,
Yeah.
pharma companies?
Huge ones, global reach, plus massive art collections, properties all over the world, estates on different continents.
The sheer weight of it all. For someone used to, a normal, quiet life, it must feel crushing.
Especially given her relationship with Jean-Luc. He wasn't just some distant relative. He was like a father to her. He'd rescued her from foster care, shielded her.
Funded her education.
Right. And this is key. He knew about her gifts. He knew she had these abilities.
Which makes the big twist in the will even more interesting.
Exactly. The stipulation, she has to share this massive inheritance.
With godbrothers.
Godbrothers she never even knew existed. What was Jean-Luc thinking there? Was he trying to force them together? Test her? Create some kind of balance?
It definitely complicates things. Okay, so who are these guys? First, there's Damien.
Ah, Damien. The heir apparent, or so he thought, described as volatile, resentful, basically your classic jealous older sibling type, but on a grand scale.
Then Dante. Sounds like the polar opposite.
Yeah.
Ruthless, efficient, an arms dealer.
Yep, an arms dealer. That description of his icy gaze, it sets him up immediately as someone cold, calculating. Not openly aggressive like Damien, perhaps, but maybe more dangerous.
Then Dr. Gia Wei. The conflicted medical geniuses adds a layer of moral ambiguity, doesn't it?
It does. You wonder where his loyalties lie, what compromises he's made.
And finally, Dimitri, the younger one. Emotionally reserved, enigmatic. But there's that hint, that postscript in the will, about a secret love for Isabel.
Right. Talk about adding another layer of complexity. So you've got resentment, ruthlessness, moral conflict, and secret affections all thrown into this mix with Isabel.
It's a potent combination. And you can totally see why Isabel feels apprehensive.
Yeah.
But also fascinated. Right?
Oh, absolutely. It's compelling. She knows her quiet life is done, over. She's walking into this world of intense power, intrigue, and probably a lot of betrayal.
That classic ordinary person in extraordinary circumstances vibe.
Exactly. So those first few days are just a blur for her. Legal stuff, meetings, trying to get her head around the sheer scale of this empire.
And it makes sense she'd start leaning on her psychic abilities more, wouldn't it? For navigation, for self-protection even?
Almost certainly. And that's when the visions start. These unsettling glimpses, flashes of conflict, betrayal, seeing her godbrothers' faces but twisted with negative emotions towards her.
Not specific threats, though.
Yeah.
More like a bad feeling amplified.
Kind of, like an emotional radar picking up the hostility, the simmering rivalries. It confirms the undercurrents are real and dangerous. It makes you think, how often do we rely on that gut feeling in tricky situations?
That's a really good point. Okay, so then there's the planned meeting. The big summit at the family estate near Geneva.
Right, and Isabel, she tries to prepare. She researches the Moreau Empire, digs into the businesses.
But the more she learns, the more she realizes. She knows almost nothing. The scale is just too vast.
Yeah, she feels completely out of her depth. The narrative mentions her even seeking comfort in her old life, just wanting that familiarity before stepping into this this lion's den.
You feel that sense of foreboding. But underneath it, there's also this emerging resolve, isn't there?
Yeah.
She's going to face them. She's going to figure out the secrets.
The game is definitely on.
Okay, so let's talk about that first meeting, the Geneva estate.
Yeah.
It's described as imposing, like a fortress.
That description is so deliberate, isn't it? Fortress. It screams power, isolation, maybe even implies the people inside are trapped by their own wealth.
Good point. And the meeting itself, formal, tense.
You can practically feel the animosity crackling in the air.
Damien's the first one she meets. Tall, piercing blue eyes, and just radiating resentment. Entitled arrogance that sums him up.
And even the handshake is described as cold, strained. He's immediately sizing her up, making digs about her background, her lack of experience. Classic power play.
Textbook resentment from someone who feels their birthright is threatened.
Exactly. Then Dante arrives. Such a contrast.
Tall, lean, but cold, calculating. That quiet menace.
Yeah, his silence is almost more unnerving than Damien's hostility. He's watching her, assessing the detail about his gaze lingering on her hands. It suggests he's looking for weaknesses, maybe. Or just intensely observant.
A different kind of threat. Strategic.
Which is more dangerous, you know? Open aggression or that hidden calculation.
A Dr. GOA. He brings a different energy again. Studied neutrality.
Right. Striking appearance, focused eyes. But maybe a hint of compassion hidden deep down? Or is that just part of the mask?
He seems approachable at first, shows some concern, but then he starts hitting her with these complex questions about the medical side of the empire.
Testing her. Using his expertise to gauge her, maybe undermine her a little. It's subtle, but it's another power move. Can she be trusted? Is she competent in his domain?
And that initial concern could just be a tactic, right? To disarm her.
Possibly. It raises questions about who you can actually trust in this high-stakes world.
And finally, Dmitri, the youngest.
But with a quiet authority. His eyes are described as warm, soulful, completely different from the others.
A genuine smile, a warm gesture. He seems to actually get the pressure she's under.
But the narrative reminds us even his sympathy might be tangled up with those secret feelings mentioned in the will. Is anything straightforward here?
Probably not. Imagine being in that room, all these undercurrents, resentments, power struggles swirling around, each brother sizing her up.
It's a pressure cooker, a silent battle, thrilling and terrifying all at once.
And dinner is described as torturous. I believe it.
Sounds like a nightmare, a dance of veiled insults. Damien constantly interrupting, trying to shut her down.
Dante making these cryptic comments that just add to the tension.
GOA with his subtle challenges disguised as questions about the business.
While Dmitri offers bits of help, almost secretly, passing information under the radar.
It really shows how power plays out in subtle ways. Aggression, intimidation, intellectual sparring, quiet support, they're all tactics to establish dominance or position.
But then after dinner, Dmitri takes her aside, leads her out to a terrace, overlooking the Alps.
That contrast again. Stunning beauty outside, total turmoil inside the estate walls.
And he speaks to her, low and sincere, offers support, an alliance.
And he starts to explain things, the family history, why they resent Jean-Luc so much.
And it's not just the money, is it?
No, that's what he emphasizes. It's about feeling overlooked, unloved, unrecognized. They saw Jean-Luc favoring Isabelle as this ultimate betrayal.
Wow, okay, that adds depth.
He also explains the rivalry between Damien and Dante, this constant fight for dominance. And GOA's tricky position, caught between family and his own morals, his skills possibly being exploited.
And then he confesses his feelings for her.
He does. Admits this hidden love, fueled partly by kinship, maybe shared circumstances, offers support, but also love.
Okay, that complicates everything massively. Is he genuine? Is it another angle?
Exactly. It puts Isabelle in a tough spot. Potential ally, potential vulnerability. How often do personal feelings mess up professional or power dynamics?
All the time. So that terrace conversation, it deepens the whole mystery, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The rivalries are way more complex than she thought. The fight's just beginning.
But she leaves with this newfound resolve. She's determined to navigate it, claim her birthright.
All right, let's shift focus. The next morning, things are still tense, obviously. But Isabelle is also kind of waiting, right? Dmitri promised to introduce her to some confidants.
Yeah, there's a bit of anticipation mixed in with the dread. And then she sees him, Kai.
The description is very cinematic. Leaning against an old fountain, sunlight, dark hair, sharp features, those emerald eyes.
Immediately sets him apart from the Godbrothers, doesn't it? He looks like an outsider. Dressed simply, not projecting that same kind of overt power.
And Dmitri seems almost nervous making the
Just
introduction.
a little ruffled, yeah. Which is interesting in itself.
So Kai turns, meets her gaze. Intense, a slow smile, a firm handshake.
Instant intrigue. He's captivating, but also guarded. There's charisma, but also mystery.
They spend the afternoon walking the grounds. The conversation flows easily, apparently, despite the background tension.
He tells stories, travels, adventures, but he also listens, asks insightful questions, seems genuinely interested in her.
And Isabel feels drawn to him, to the mystery, the charm.
That sense that there's more going on beneath the surface, that unspoken connection they seem to have. It's a classic setup, right? Meant to signify something important.
But it also makes her uneasy. That feeling that it's both thrilling and slightly off, familiar yet disturbing.
That duality is key. It ramps up the enigma around him.
Then later, they're sitting on a bench watching the sunset. Comfortable silence, then talking more personally. Lives, backgrounds, dreams.
But Kai remains elusive about his own past. It's all vague. Impressionistic stories about travel, but no real details. Mentions of intrigue, shadowy organizations, but nothing concrete.
Deliberately ambiguous. It's designed to pique curiosity but give nothing away. Why do you think characters like that are so compelling in stories?
Maybe because it forces us to fill in the blanks. It creates suspense. We want to know the secret.
True. And Isabel starts to question him more directly. The charm starts to feel like a shield. His words seem chosen to deflect, not reveal. That glint in his eye is a calculation.
He becomes this puzzle she needs to solve. And over the next few days, he's always there, on the sidelines watching the power plays.
But she also finds herself relying on him. His insights, his warnings, they're alarmingly accurate about what the brothers will do next.
He's positioning himself perfectly, isn't he? The indispensable advisor. But is he helping her, or playing his own game?
That's the million-dollar question. Then comes the dinner on the terrace. She confronts him. What aren't you telling me?
And his response, classic deflection. Some things are better left unsaid. It avoids complications.
So frustrating, she pushes him on trust. And he leans in, eyes softening. Whispers, it's not about trust, it's about protecting her.
That's smooth. Turning his secrecy into an act of care. Appealing to her vulnerability. It's textbook manipulation, potentially. How often do people use justifications like that to hide things?
Way too often. It leaves Isabel feeling chilled, uneasy. She knows there's way more to his story.
So the following days are just tense negotiations, maneuvering, and Kai's role gets murkier and murkier.
Sometimes supportive, sometimes hinting at something darker. Friend of Dmitri, confidant to Isabel. Who is he really loyal to?
The lines blur completely. Friend or foe. That initial attraction she felt, now it's mixed with deep suspicion. She feels caught in this web.
And the narrative hints that the truth, when it comes out, is going to be explosive. And she'll piece it together from small things, overlooked clues, a glance, a snippet of conversation.
Things hidden by his charm. It really underscores how easily we can be misled by surface appearances, especially when attraction is involved.
Okay, so let's wrap up this first part of the dive for you, our listener. We've seen Isabel Moreau get plunged headfirst into this insane world of wealth and power.
An inheritance that comes with a ready-made set of problems. These mysterious godbrothers, each a potential threat in his own way.
Plus the enigma that is Kai, ally. Enemy, something else entirely. And those definite early signs of a serious power struggle brewing.
It's quite the setup.
So for you, the learner, listening to all this, what stands out most from Isabel's initial experience? Is it the complicated family stuff, the mystery around Kai, or just the sheer scale of what she's inherited?
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Considering all the betrayal simmering just below the surface and the hidden history of the Moreaus, is Isabella actually in control here? Or is she just a piece on a board in a game that started long before she arrived? What do you think her next move should be?